What's up, YouTube? So I have uploaded videos and deleted them and uploaded them and deleted them. So I believe that the last video I had, I was pregnant with my third baby. So essentially, for a moment there, I had three babies under three. We are now in October of 2020. We are in the middle of a pandemic. Everybody's fighting on social media. I've been fired and got a business started, and my oldest is now 4 years old. When I first started my vlogging, I was like first pregnant with him, and here we are 4 years later, and just a little bit has changed since the last time. But just a couple quick stories about what's going on now, because things have completely turned around. There's been a lot of changes since my last vlog, and again, I like to keep up with these because looking back on them, even now, I was sitting there looking at my first video all the way until the one where I was pregnant with my youngest son, and it's just been so much that has changed. I am now living in a house. I have a brand new car. um, I've I've been able to deal with business and financial issues and all kinds of things. And I just want to let you guys know that, because where I started from, especially when I first started my vlogging situation, is a complete change. And I'd say that the only thing that has really pushed me through a lot of it was most definitely mindset. So, yes, child. Which one is it? Come here, Grace. When I first started my vlog, I was living in a one-bedroom apartment. Some of you guys may know, some of you guys may not know. Say this out your mouth and say hi. Some of you guys may know and some of you guys may not know. This is Grace. This is the one that was in the video last time. Look. Say hi, YouTube.
Hi.
She was the one that was begging for bananas and things. You tell them how old you are now?
I don't know what old I am.
You're 2.
And two.
So I had a one-bedroom apartment. I was in the military and was getting out the military, and just so happens right when myself and my kid's father were getting out the military, because we got out on this literally around the same time, found out we were pregnant with my first child, and that was the biggest shock of my life. But one of the rewards that I decided to give was the gift of vlogging, kind of documenting my life back then, because I just had that feeling that things were having to change. They had to change. So I ended up being rooted here. Now, for anybody that knows me, I've always been a military affiliate. I was a military brat, and then I ended up joining the military. So I never sat in one spot for longer than, I don't know, 2 years. So this was the first time that I actually was rooted somewhere and having to stay, which also included keeping up, bless you, keeping up with my relationships. So if you are used to moving around a lot, you are used to getting up and leaving people. Like, to me, it became second nature to just have a relationship with somebody and just know that it's coming to an end at some point. I'm not really good at keeping up with people. I'm not really good on checking up on people. I was never really good at having wholesome, like, long-standing relationships. So for me to still be in a relationship with my kid's father, and then we're having kids, which is even more permanent, it was like a commitment scare for me. So here we are, one-bedroom apartment, find out we're having a kid. I'm freaking out. I'm like, oh my goodness. Then flash to 2 years later, we're making it work and we have more children. What are we thinking? Like, that's crazy. So back to back to back, you know. So my oldest is 4, she's 2, turning 3 next month, and then we have the youngest one, who is 1 turning 2. So it's 2, 3, 4. It's crazy. So, you know, I'm like, what am I supposed to do with children? Finances were crazy. I was getting out the military, you know, so we didn't really plan on having kids, but we did anyway. I was the only one that was working, and it was really, really stressful. So I went through a lot of turmoil, you know, working, taking care of kids, going to school online, like 100%. and trying to hold down the household for the first time ever in my life and trying to be consistent in that, it was incredibly tough. So again, flashing forward, I end up meeting, some friends of mine. One of the girls, me and her were pregnant with our sons at the same time. So our sons are literally born like a couple days apart, like 2 days apart or so. But we met working on the inpatient psych unit, which is where I'm a psychiatric technician. I work in mental health. And we met back then, and I remember looking at her, and if you guys ever see her, she has her own channel, Sabrina Green. We're both co-founders of intenttoheal.com, which is an online counseling, coaching, not counseling, online coaching business. She teaches a lot about business things. She came to me with the idea to start our own business. And again, my mindset is still like fleeting. I'm like, I'm not going to be here that long anyway. I'm probably going to be moving. So I didn't really, dig down into the idea of it. I didn't really commit. So it was really kind of hard for me to keep up the facade like, oh yeah, we're all in it. Because in my head, I'm like, well, what if I leave? What's going to happen? And finances were always crazy for me because I never really learned. Huh?
Thank you.
Yeah, you too. So one thing that me and her actually talked about and agreed on was that a lot of households, and I'm going to say Black households, finances, the entrepreneurship and handling your finances, we're taught that, you go out there, you make that check is yours, you spend that money. And if you were going to be in any type of marketing or anything like that, the idea of saving and handling your finances according to the people out there on Wall Street and things like that is just beyond. So she is really, really good about dealing with that kind of thing. It takes me some time to get something because I'm hard-headed. So I ended up starting courses and writings and books and things like that about resiliency. This past year, when we started our business in 2019, had been the hardest, but the most interesting, deep learning experience of my life. The first thing that ended up happening was me and my kids' dad were having some issues. And that is like my ace, So we were having issues, having a hard time communicating, got 3 babies, we're living in close quarters. It was getting cramped in there. People kept sending us stuff because they love the kids. And we're like, stop. We have a 1-bedroom apartment. It's not working. We're climbing on top of each other. Potty training, washing machine and dryer. We didn't have one. It was just a lot of stress. I can't even tell you guys how much stress it was in there. So me and him weren't handling it right. I did not want to continue in the relationship anymore. So that was pretty hard. And then we pushed into Christmas time. And the apartment complex was like, you guys are cramped up. You can't house that many people in a small space. So now I'm thinking, how in the hell am I going to get enough income to move all 5 of us out of this apartment? I'm the only one working. Everything's going to all these bills. We have high bills because we're using electricity and water like we are in a house. So, after some convincing from some friends of mine, I'm like, literally what we're paying right now in this apartment complex, because they shot up on my rent when they found out I was out the military. I don't know how they found out. Shot up on my rent. And I was like, I could be paying the same amount on my rent for mortgage. So ended up finding a home that was perfect. It was right down the street. I loved it. I didn't want to move away from the area because the area was nice. I was like, crap, we found our house. It was amazing. It was like within the first couple months. And we were still trying to discuss whether we were going to continue our relationship. So I was like, but I kind of still need help with the kids because we're working. And it really sucked, that moment of us going to look for houses. And it was kind of awkward. And we ended up getting to this house that was just perfect size, family oriented area, all that. I thought everything was going great as far as that was concerned. And then I think that next day or 2 days later, I end up getting into a car crash. I get hit by a police officer. I've never been in a car accident in my entire life. So the whole experience for me was freaky. I got T-boned by this police officer, and the type of city that we live in, I was sure I was going to get blamed for it, or worse, sent to jail or something. But thankfully, the police officers, just the way that the accident happened, it was again, the type of city I live in. It was ultimately deemed a fault type of accident. But out of the deal, my car was already kind of doing bad. It was on its last little leg, and my inspection was coming up, and just so happens we get into this car accident, and I end up upgrading with the money that they ended up giving me when they paid me off for my car, a brand new vehicle, basically as used because it was used once. And so I ended up getting a new car earlier this year. Because of the accident, my credit ended up going up because I remember before I was looking for the house, I ended up applying for credit cards because I'm like, I need to get my credit together. Got some credit cards, and because of the accident, I actually ended up needing to use the credit cards to get a rental car. And so I got the rental car, and over time, what ended up happening was it affected my credit. And also, that house that we loved so much, that we thought was perfect, ended up getting sold. A friend of mine read the contract that the lady was trying to give me. And apparently, because it was my first time going out looking for a home and I didn't really ask for help from anybody, she was basically about to get me to pay for something that it wasn't worth. And my friend, like, basically, she saw my paper. She called the lady, questioned her about some things, and she called me back and she said, do not buy this house from her. And I said, but it's perfect. And she said, no. She said, she's basically screwing you. You won't get what you think you're gonna get. So I was grateful for all of those moments, right? My business partner was also going through things. So me and her did not talk. We didn't talk about the business. We weren't talking about building our business. We weren't really doing anything with our business at all. So that kind of fell stagnant. Until January. Got the new car, changed my credit because I was getting the rental. So my credit score ended up changing, and I ended up finding a real estate agent that was a fighter. Like, he was really quick, always wanted to get exactly what you wanted. And it was recommended to me by somebody. So I ended up getting him, and ultimately ended up getting a much, much, much better house and a much, much better deal than what I would have before. Backyard, washing machine and dryer, enough bedrooms for the kids, enough space for them to run, land of my own. A lot of education came behind it too, because he was teaching me as we were looking. And it just everything kind of started falling into place. And then me and my business partner ended up talking about the things that we were going through, the depression, the heartache, the heartbreak, everything that happened. And it was crazy because we counted out as a spiritual attack. As soon as we signed our LLC, next thing you knew, we were getting hit left and right in our relationships, in our personal life, in our school life, in our self-esteem, everything. Come January, we called our first podcast series Housekeeping. And we started a podcast because we felt like that was a great way to get our voice out there. We're very introverted. Well, I'm introverted. It may not seem like it, but I'm introverted. I like to be at home. Podcasting seemed to work, and she found a way for us to podcast for free. And so we ended up doing a podcast called Housekeeping, and it was basically like our fresh start. We were going to hit the ground running, and all year long, anytime we would be hit with something, we knew what it was. We knew it was a spiritual attack, but we would take that moment and learn from it. And I can tell you guys that from living in that cramped one-bedroom apartment, struggling, and I still have my financial woes because I was also fired this year. That ended up happening. Just so happens a situation, the most precise situation ended up happening, and I was let go, which actually helped me dig deeper into my business. Me and my kid's dad actually switched roles. He became the breadwinner, which actually helped our relationship a lot, because now I think that, instead of him being at home with the kids, I felt like I was able to be at home with the kids more and take care of their schoolwork and everything. And it seemed like the being fired situation for like a good 30 seconds to me was momentous. Like, I was upset, crying, but my business partner came and got me, and we walked around the park and we talked about all of the things that we could do and how I wasn't going to be at that place forever anyway, right? And in order to be an entrepreneur, you have to think like one. You have to think like an entrepreneur. And I was thinking like an employee. And I was doing everything for them. So the truth is that things are going to happen to you in your life all the time. Things are going to happen to you all the time. What you need to understand is that when those things happen, there is a deep lesson in there. And also there's something else about to come. You have to be patient because everything has a cause and effect in my eyes. Sometimes we don't understand why, but things do have causes and effects. This whole year has been a year of hit, but I didn't take it like that, right? If you took it like that, yeah, that's going to be a thing. But I can tell you this. Once you find out what the other side of things are, everything else kind of makes sense. Once you find out. So I'm going to get off of here because I had to put her back into bed. You're funny. Go to bed. I'll talk to you guys later.